it's always something colorful to look at year round. So, Magnolias gelata, which will be in full bloom sometimes as early as Thanksgiving. Generally by Christmas it'll be blooming.
This side you do irrigate a little bit.
This side I irrigate a lot. The corn and tomatoes. Yeah, all my watering out here is pretty much in this little area where the tomatoes and corn are.
And do you do anything, whether it's fertilizing or amendments, Don? Because there's so many different kinds of plants here.
I cut back stuff enough that I have no shortage of compost, and I compost all my household vegetable scraps. And so I've got buckets and buckets of compost. I just throw handfuls of compost on the top of all these pots once or twice a year, especially before the rainy season starts. And when I plant the tomatoes and stuff, I add 2 inches of compost to the top and dig it in a little bit. But it works. I do fertilize with Miracle Grow some of my containers, some of my pelargoniums and petunias and all that stuff. If it's commercial, it gets commercial fertilizer.
And if it's a hardy native, wherever they come from, that don't like it, just nothing.
You get nothing. Well, they like a little compost.
A little bit.
Yeah. But not much. If it's a drought-tolerant desert thing, it just gets the tiniest little layer of compost. Clivias can take big handfuls of compost, as can all those epiphytic cactus. They're used to leaves falling in them and turning into compost. So, yes. Oh, there's 2 monarchs there now. Chasing each other. And it knows where the milkweed is. It's coming through the milkweed. Laying an egg on it right now.
Well, this timing's not so bad, is it?
No.
That's the South African one?
This is the South African one, which is fine for the monarchs in the summertime. I've raised lots of caterpillars on it. But it dies back in the wintertime, and if it doesn't, I cut it back so they won't lay eggs on it in the wintertime. Because that causes some trouble.
And the butterflies, they know where to come, huh? For miles around.
Yeah.
It's a good spot.
Yeah, and some of the things really produce a lot of scent in the air. And so I think, get along this jasmine, this is
that's glorious.
Jasmine angulata. This is one from the Cape Province of South Africa. This is a coastal, I've seen this in the wild in South Africa, not far from the Indian Ocean. And it's absolutely drought tolerant, kind of slow, don't have to water it. You can hedge it like a hedge if you want and do anything with it. It's a wonderful, and it's got a much more delicate smell than the regular jasmine.
No, it doesn't seem so sprawly like the other one either, huh?
No,
a little bit more well-behaved.
It's more well-behaved. It's a wonderful one that should be in the trade. People should be having that one. But you find me another one in the Bay Area. You probably can't.
Don, why do you think the nursery trade sometimes has such a narrow focus in terms of what they'll plant or the general aesthetic of people? Why don't they appreciate this sort of thing more?
Because it's hard to do a lot of this stuff. And it's not available. And for a nursery to produce a crop of something takes a lot of energy and time and money. And then no one knows what it is. And it'll go to a nursery and it's not in any garden books. And unless it's in bloom, if it's a crop of something in bloom, it'll sell. But if this was just labeled as a jasmine sitting in a nursery without any flowers, nobody would buy it.
No.
They wouldn't know how special it is. So anyway, so they don't pick it up and they don't sell it because they can't make any money off it.
Huh.
So the good specialty nurseries that used to carry this kind of stuff are few and far between anymore. Annie's Annuals does somewhat with it. They have quite a lot of stuff. But there's my cat running away. I don't know. Black and white cat over there.
Seems like a downright jungle cat right there.
Yes, she lives in, that's her spot all summer, all day long. And as soon as it starts getting cool at night. She runs the house. Yeah, that monarch is really trying to lay some eggs. Wow, you're putting that egg way up under there so that nothing can get it. They've laid eggs 3 or 4 times on this already, and I haven't got a single caterpillar. And I think it's because I've also seen little spiders almost like following the butterfly, going after the eggs. So, but the same thing happened last year. In the first couple months of egg laying, nothing, and then towards fall, suddenly I had caterpillars everywhere. So I think it'll happen again this year. Come August, I'll get a lot of caterpillars.
So Don, you got like brassicas or cabbages, where have you there, and then I see the milkweeds here.
Yeah.
And so you wouldn't control for caterpillars, I'm guessing, in
No,
terms of BT or any other
no.
spray. What do you do? What's your philosophy?
My garden is 100% organic. I use a homemade oil. You use some kind of canola oil, and you use 4 parts oil, like a tablespoon, and 1/4 of a tablespoon of dish soap. You stir that up, and then put that in a little container and fill it full of water, and that's just a milky mix, and it's lovely. I use it as a hand lotion, and then that really does in aphids and mealybugs and stuff like that. The oil sticks to the mealybugs, and they can't breathe.
And so you'll just selectively spray plants that are
I
susceptible.
either just use my fingers to wipe. If I see something with some kind of bugs, like my cabbages will get suddenly an outbreak of aphids, I just take that stuff and rub it up and down on those, and that's it. Takes a minute, and then they might come back a few months later, but not usually. And the plant outgrows it. Sometimes it'll make the plant darken color a little bit, but it gets rid of the bugs. And snails and slugs are a problem, but I just kind of kill them. I'll step on a snail if I have to. But for the most part, once you get an ecosystem like this, you don't get any bug and insect damage. And I'm surprised at how a lot of the fungus problems go away too. I don't have any fungus on any of my zucchini. My neighbor, well, you can't see it, but it's around there, where he has nothing but squash in his little front bed, and bare dirt and squash. It's all getting covered with mildew and white stuff. I never get that with my squash, which are in the middle of all this other plant material. So I think, no one's ever studied that, but I think an ecosystem like this really not only protects against insects, it protects against diseases too. I have very, very little problem with anything. And I like my cabbage white butterflies, so I don't mind them eating my brassica a little bit. They also, around the corner on my dog walk, there's a garden that they've let it go to solid nasturtiums, and it's a big orange geranium mass with orange nasturtiums. It's half and half geranium and nasturtium, and it's been there for years and years and years, and they don't do anything. It's like this garden, only it's just mainly those 2 plants. It's solid cabbage white butterflies, because cabbage white uses nasturtium.
This is true.
And so I won't see another butterfly on my dog walk till I get to that property, and then when I walk by that property, I'll see 4 or 5 butterflies. And then other butterflies see that, and they come, and if I'm seeing some monarchs, I usually see them around that garden. And the guy also has beehives in the back, so there's lots of bees from his hives, of which he says he's down to 2 beehives where he used to have 8, and they've just died off. And he can't understand what's going on, and he's losing his bees.
Yeah. That seems to be a common predicament lately.
Yeah, I know it. So even in home gardening, beekeeper guy is having trouble with it. And he's got sort of a nice ecosystem like this going around his property. So